TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. A deadly shooting terror attack in Jerusalem claims the lives of at least 5 Israelis. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asserts Israel's unwavering resolve to eliminate the Islamist Hamas. U.S. President Donald Trump relays a new proposal to the Islamist Hamas that includes the release of all Israeli hostages on the first day. A deadly shooting terror attack plagued Israel's capital, Jerusalem, this morning, with at least 5 Israelis murdered and over 10 others wounded, to include 6 in severe condition. According to Israel Police International spokesman Lieutenant Dean Elston, 2 terrorists arrived by vehicle at 10:15 a.m. at Ramot Junction in Jerusalem and deliberately opened fire at a number of civilians who were waiting at a bus. A number of armed civilians who were at the scene acted immediately in response, engaging the assailants by returning fire and killed the 2 terrorists. Meanwhile, arriving at the scene of the terror attack, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asserted that the murder of Israelis only bolsters Jerusalem's resolve to fulfill its mission against the Islamist Hamas and its terror affiliates.
אנחנו במלחמה, מלחמה עצימה נגד הטרור בכמה חזיתות.
We are at war, high-intensity war against terror on several fronts. First, I would like to relay my condolences to the families of the murdered and, of course, wishes of recovery for the wounded. When I state that we are waging high-intensity war on several fronts, we have great successes against the terror regimes and organizations, but the war persists, to include in the Gaza Strip, where we will destroy Hamas, as we had promised, and we will free our hostages, all of them. To our regret, also in Jerusalem. We operated vigorously in Judea and Samaria. The ISA and IDF, and also Israel Police, foiled hundreds of terror attacks this year. However, to my regret, not this morning. We are now waging a manhunt and besieging the villages from which the terrorists emanated, and we will reach all those who had helped them, whoever sent them, and we will implement even tougher measures. I want to state in the clearest terms, those murders, those attacks on all fronts, will not loosen our grip. On the contrary, it will only bolster our determination to fulfill the tasks which we have taken upon ourselves, to include in Gaza, and also Judea and Samaria, everywhere.
Earlier on Sunday, during Jerusalem's cabinet meeting, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expanded on Israel's high-intensity operation, which intensifies on the outskirts and within the boundaries of Gaza City.
We are intensifying the operation on the outskirts of and inside Gaza City. We are eliminating Mikvah terrorists who played a significant role in the October 7th massacre, including the accursed terrorist who called his parents and took pride in having personally murdered 10 Israelis. Now we called the family and informed it that this terrorist has been eliminated. It is a clear message that we will reach them all. I want to thank, on your behalf as well, the ISA and the IDF for doing this important work. We are eliminating terrorist infrastructure and nefarious terrorist high-rises. We have established an additional humanitarian corridor to enable the civilian population in Gaza to leave for a safe place and receive humanitarian assistance there. In the meantime, approximately 100,000 people have left Gaza. Hamas is trying to do its utmost so that no one will go and they will stay there in order to serve as human shields for it. By the way, it does not refrain from any means. Only recently we have seen how it shoots women and children in the legs and, if necessary, shoots them. Therefore, it is expected that it will try to prevent the exit that is necessary from a humanitarian perspective and from our perspective regarding the war. We want to focus on the terrorists themselves and enable the civilian population to go out.
Netanyahu continued by highlighting that Israel's determined push against Hamas in Gaza is part of Jerusalem's effort to complete the crushing of the stranglehold by the Iranian axis of terror.
המאמץ שלנו בעזה על המבצרים האחרונים.
Our effort in Gaza against the last strongholds, in effect the last important stronghold, Gaza City, is part of our effort to complete the crushing of the stranglehold by the Iranian axis. This axis was intended to destroy the state of Israel, and by dismantling it and striking it, we are removing an existential threat to Israel, the primary threat.
Amid a heinous campaign of disinformation and propaganda by Islamist and totalitarian regimes, which oppose the West at large and the United States and Israel in particular, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu underscored that victory on the battlefield is more important to Israel than the victory of deceptive media outlets that fuel lies and hatred.
I am aware of the price that we are paying in the diplomatic and public diplomacy fields for the state of Israel, and the best way to get out of this, of course, is to establish completely new mechanisms as we mentioned, and, of course, to end the war as fast as possible with the victory that we have defined, eliminating Hamas, the return of all the hostages, and ensuring that Gaza never again threatens Israel. But regarding the public diplomacy damage, I would like to say one thing. If I need to choose between victory over our enemies and malicious propaganda against us, I choose victory over our enemies, as opposed to the opposite. I do not want stories that we have been beaten by our enemies and for us to be eulogized well in the global media. I choose victory.
Meanwhile, during a joint press conference with Danish Foreign Minister Lars Rasmussen in Jerusalem, Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar stressed that the war in Gaza can end tomorrow morning.
The war in Gaza can end tomorrow morning with only two simple things. The return of our hostages. We still have 48 hostages that were kidnapped from their homes on October 7th in Gaza Strip, and with Hamas laying down its arms. And I emphasize the second thing because the second thing also guarantees the future of Gaza and the Palestinians, a different future, released from the oppressive and terrorist regime of Hamas. We will be more than happy to reach to this objective with political means, with diplomatic means, instead of military means.
Minister Rasmussen, for his part, highlighted Copenhagen's demands to include the release of all Israeli hostages from Hamas captivity. It also calls on Israel to immediately end its war in Gaza. And the Danish government remains convinced that only an internationally aspired two-state solution would bring about lasting peace, irrespective of Hamas's proclamation in its official charter that, quote, Israel will rise and will remain erect until Islam eliminates it, and that Hamas, quote, joined its hands with those of all jihad fighters for the purpose of liberating Palestine.
We strongly believe that peace, long-lasting peace in this region must be based on a sovereign Israel and a Palestinian state living peacefully together. And I'm not naive. I know this is extremely difficult, but it's something we should work hard to achieve. We are not ready yet to recognize, but our position is that we cannot allow anyone to have a de facto veto over the Danish position. Our position so far has been that we are ready to recognize when there is a negotiated two-state solution.
Meanwhile, the United States relayed to the Islamist Hamas a list of demands that would effectively end the war in the Gaza Strip, and which Israel was quick to accept.
I think we're going to have a deal on Gaza very soon. It's a hell of a problem. Again, it's a problem we want to solve for the Middle East, for Israel, for everybody. But it's a problem we're going to get done. So they have hostages. It could be a little bit less than 20 because some, they tend to die, right? They tend to die. Even though they're young people largely, they're dying. Young people don't die. Young people stay alive. But with this whole thing, they tend to die. But we have, let's say, 20 people, and we have about 38 bodies. Bodies, meaning bodies.
Are you confident you can get them all released?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're going to get them all.
According to President Trump's new proposal, all 48 living and murdered hostages are to be released on the first day of the deal, coupled with a parallel release of thousands of Palestinian prisoners, to include hundreds of convicted terrorists with blood on their hands. Moreover, Israel will hold Operation Gideon's Chariots 2 to conquer Gaza City, and negotiations to end the war will immediately begin under direct supervision of President Donald Trump. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. As ever, please keep praying for the return of all 48 hostages who've now endured 703 days in brutal Hamas captivity in the Gaza Strip. Pray also for the Druze and Christians in southern Syria. And pray, as ever, for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Hessen, wishing you a Shavua Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.